Hi, this is Aaron from the Jam Station with a deep dive tutorial on Lick of the Week 11. Last week's lick and lesson were a bit of a monster with references to sequenced Mixolydian triads, rhythmic displacement and extended dominant arpeggios. This week's lick, a little bit lighter for those of you who just want to blaze your way across the fretboard with a pentatonic scale and who doesn't want to do that. So here's the lick. So what can you have hoped to have learned by the time you get to the end of this video? Because you're going to stay till the end, aren't you? 1. Well, the lick moves quickly across 3 octaves, covering 12 frets. So we're breaking out of our standard position-based pentatonic soloing. 2. The lick moves through all 5 shapes of the cage system. So I'll point out which shapes you're using and where. 3. The phrase uses a lot of hammer-ons, but without being overly taxing technically. So you're adding a cool legato lick to your rock vocabulary without having to spend hours at the metronome. And 4, you're going to be confident counting sextuplets, which you may or may not have counted before. Okay, let's get started. Now, remember, we're now adding chapters in the description of the lesson, so if you want to click through a section, please do so. I'm sure everybody watching this video knows the open position E minor pentatonic scale. So I'm not going to play that, but I have included it in the tab available on Patreon just in case, marked as B. The notes in the E minor pentatonic scale are E, G, A, B, D. Though rather than play them in position like that, we're going to start moving up the neck as we play those. So E, G, A, B, D. In fact, we're going to pass through those notes 3 times across 3 octaves, marked on the tab as C. You'll notice I'm only going to use fingers 1 and 3 to keep this simple. E, G, A, B, D, E, G, A, B, D, E, G, A, B, D, E. Within this scale, there's a cool recurring pattern which we can use to speed up the process of visualizing the scale along the neck. Okay, the scale is E minor pentatonic, so obviously we're starting with an E. However, after playing our E, we can then play this sequence G, A, B, D, E. That's 3, 5, 7, 5, 7. We can then move that up an octave onto our D and G strings and play the same thing. Now 5, 7, 9, 7, 9. Same pattern. 3, 5, 7, 5, 7, 5, 7, 9, 7, 9. And then up a third time onto the B and E strings, 8, 10, 12, 10, 12. Okay, this is all marked in the tab. 3, 5, 7, 5, 7. Up we go. 5, 7, 9, 7, 9. Up again. 8, 10, 12, 10, 12. Why am I showing you this first and not diving straight into the impressive legato part of the lick? Well, point 1 of our lesson objectives was to learn a shape which moves across the neck. Now this is not a normal pentatonic cage shape, and it's always a good idea to know which notes you're going to play before you start adding any technical difficulties. So hit pause if necessary, but get this extended shape under your fingers before attempting the full phrase, which I'm now about to explain. Objective 2. Let's explore how the different parts of this phrase relate to the cage system, and then after that, I'll be talking about the legato and technical aspects of the phrase. Stay with me, trust me. I'm going to play the notes. You'll see the scale shape just here, okay? And then we'll move through the whole phrase. So the first 2 notes, E and G, are part of our open position E shape. Frets 3 and 5, G and A, are the bottom part of the D-shaped scale. The next 3 pairs of notes move us nicely up the C-shape version of E minor pentatonic. That's A, B, D, E, G, A. 5, 7, 5, 7, 5, 7. We then have exactly the same notes again, but an octave higher, and we've now moved into pentatonic A shape. A, B, D, E, G, A. You notice we've moved up a fret once we arrive at the B string. Finally, we've reached the G shape. A, volume would be nice. A, B, D, E. Objective 2, we've moved through all 5 of your pentatonic cage shapes. Objective 3 was hammer-ons, legato. Now, if you've played quite a lot of legato in the past, you may want to skip this next part using the chapters below. Otherwise, let's move forward together. Developing a good legato technique is a long-term process, but all of the great rock guitarists make extensive use of the technique, so it's worth some effort and study. After this lesson, not during. Check out any video of Steve Vai or Joe Satriani to see two true legato masters at work. Alan Holdsworth is even more extreme if you fancy checking out some jazz fusion. Thankfully though, pentatonic licks like this do exist where we're essentially moving the same two fingers, moving them around the neck to make it feel a little bit easier. The technique. The aim should be to have an equal volume between picked and hammered notes. Okay? To achieve that, we pick a little bit lighter, and then we really snap the finger down right behind the appropriate fret to get an even, smooth sound. Throughout each group of 3 notes in the lick, if you've checked the tab, we're going to be picking an open string and then hammering 2 fretted notes. As we move up the neck, the distance between the picked note and the fretted note gets larger and larger, creating quite an unusual, startling effect. So down here it's quite normal. By the time we're up here, they're big jumps. Right, let's work on our technique. If you look at the tab, section D is marked legato exercises. I've split the lick up into 6 small, easily repeatable exercises of only 2 or 3 beats. We're going to play these with a metronome and achieve muscle memory. Now I speak about this idea in pretty much every lick of the week. It's a great way of improving your technique quickly, making the best use of your time. We're either going to be hammering and moving up the string as per exercises 1, 3 and 5. That's 1, 3, etc. Or we'll be hammering in position and moving across the strings as in exercises 2, 4 and 6. Okay, I'm standing position. We've spoken about triplets before. Lick of the week 1 offers a really nice explanation of triplets if you've not used them before. We're essentially counting 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a. I'm going to move quickly here to keep up the momentum. Remember, you can pause the video at any time if you think I'm moving too fast. I've set the metronome to 80 BPM. So we're counting 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a. Exercise 1 under section D. Okay, we're moving along the bottom string, 3 and 5, 5 and 7. Here we go, 3 and a 4 and a. Exercise 2, we're now moving across the strings at frets 5 and 7, part of our C shape. Here we go. 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a. Make sure you're snapping the fingers down. Exercise 3, similar to 1, we're now moving along the D string. Okay, 5 and 7, 7 and 9, 3, 4. Let's put those 3 parts together. Exercise 4, we're now moving across our A shape at frets 7 and 9, and then 8 and 10, adjusting for the B string. Let's go. 2 and a 3 and a. Exercise 5 moves along the B string. We're getting quite high up the neck now, so please ensure you're being accurate with your fingertips. One of my old teachers used to talk about imagining the tips of your fingers being like the toes of ballet dancers, okay? So they're coming right down on the points. We're going to do 8 and 10, 10 and 12. 1 and a 2 and a. And finally, top 2 strings, 10, 12. Now, even if you've not done much legato before, none of these exercises should pose too much of a problem if you keep the metronome at a manageable tempo. Once they're all smooth, we can move them onto the full range of the scale, which is marked in the tab as E. At this stage, you'll see we're still counting as triplets. I'll start slowly, add a few BPM each time. Yeah, let's do 80. 3 and a 4 and a. Let's go 100. 3, 4. Let's go 120. 2, 3, 4. Finally, we're going to go 140. 2, 3 and a 4. Okay, I think we're now ready to play our full lick, and we're back in at A in the tab. So sextuplets, okay? This was objective 4 at the beginning of the lesson. I said you would be able to confidently count sextuplets, which is where we squeeze 6 notes into a beat. So this could be counted 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and, which gives us 6 notes. But because we're playing a note with 3 note groupings, we're going to count it like 2 triplets together, 2 consecutive triplets. 1 and a 2 and a 1 and a 2 and a 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and a 2 and a. Okay? 2 3s rather than 3 2s. You'll be glad to know that from a technical point of view, there's no change whatsoever when we move from triplets to sextuplets. The lick feels the same, it's just that there will be a metronome every 6 notes rather than every 3. In fact, if we count sextuplets at 70 BPM, lick is absolutely identical to when we count in triplets at 140. Let me prove it to you. 140. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's divide the metronome in 2. 140 divided by 2. And that can't be right. 70. So, 70, sextuplets. 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4. The same lick. Okay, hopefully that's all 4 of our objectives. To finish off, I'm going to demonstrate the full phrase to 3 of our backing tracks so that you can hear it in a couple of different musical settings. Now, normally I would change the key and transpose the lick into different keys. Because we're using open strings in this lick, I can't really move it around to different keys. So we're just going to stay in E, but change the style musically. The first lick is our Rolling Stones style backing track in E. Of course, as I've just explained. I'm going to play the lick in triplets, 16th notes, and then sextuplets, so you can hear it getting faster as the rhythm changes. The second is a really sweet track, Latin jazz vibes in E Aeolian. Perfect for this kind of thing. If the sun's out, give this a go. The third and final track is in A Dorian. Now that's not E minor, you may be saying, but in actual fact it is. A Dorian is the second mode of G major, and G major is the relative major key of E minor. So all of these notes in this E minor pentatonic scale will work perfectly in A Dorian. I'll just make sure I finish the phrase on the E, which is the 5th of A. If any of that doesn't make sense, drop us a note in the comments below. I'm more than happy to do a lesson around this kind of thing. I find it fascinating. Thanks for staying with us until the end. Please consider clicking like or leaving us a comment with any thoughts or feedback. It's really helpful. We've just had a sweet melodic backing track come out on the channel in D. Give it a go. See you next week for Lick of the Week 12, which is going to be a versatile blues lick similar to something B.B. King may have played back in the day. Thanks, see you soon.